can get our post up, and once it gives me the link, I will put it here and then we will begin. Okay, so this gave me the link, put it over here. And okay, we're ready to go.
Okay.
Give me, well, the little spinning. Okay, there we go. Got it. All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you're catching this, if you are not joining us live. This is Coffee with Candidates. I am your host, Heather Osianbi with Racine County Eye, where I am the managing editor and an actual co-founder of the site. And I'm here with Michael Mick Moore, so we're going to be calling him Mick throughout. He is running for Caledonia Village Board for trustee seat number 1. And I just want to let Mick know and everyone else out there, even though he's like right here on my screen, I have all the questions over here, so I'm gonna have to keep turning this way, but I am fully engaged. I just wanted to let you know. So while I'm going to the questions, Mick, why don't you take a moment and introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mick Moore, also known legally name as Michael. Born in Racine, moved to Caledonia 20 plus years ago, and have been a resident here ever since. I was employed by the North Park Sanitary District, which became part of the village of Caledonia when Caledonia became a village. Worked there for several years and then went into business for myself in home remodeling, bathrooms and kitchens. For the past 7.5 years, I was employed by the Racine Catholic Cemetery as general manager. I am newly retired only about 2 months ago. So I'm enjoying retirement, and hopefully with enough votes, I'll be enjoying sitting on the village board.
Well, congratulations on your retirement. Well, thanks for joining us. We're going to jump in, excuse me, to the questions. So we have 10 questions in 5 different categories. The first one is local economy and development. So what are your plans to attract and retain businesses in Caledonia, especially along maybe like the Douglas Avenue corridor and or out near the expressway?
Well, we have, buildings out there that are vacant, that need to be filled. It's going to take a bit of promotion from the village, and I don't know exactly yet how to go about it. We've had a Kmart that's been sitting empty for numerous years that is starting to become an eyesore, and one of my concern is it's going to drive business away unless we find someone soon to take over that large building.
Mm-hmm.
So scouting and searching around for businesses to come is going to take some doing. So we need, definitely it's needed. Whether it's going to take a special committee to look for businesses, I don't know. Okay. It's going to have to be a discussion.
Okay. How would you address, now I know Caledonia doesn't have a lot of rental units in the village, but affordable housing is a concern for everyone, right? As our rising rent costs for the units that you do have. So how does the village board address those concerns? And is it appropriate, in your opinion, for the village board to even address these?
I believe, to my knowledge, there is, a parcel of property in the village adjacent to the Douglas Avenue corridor, which is being looked at for multifamily units and single family units. So,
okay.
Some of that is already in the works. And hopefully with that, it's going to, catch on a little bit. because there are other properties, even along Douglas Avenue, there's some vacant properties
Mhm.
that are, just sitting there waiting for development. And so hopefully that'll move along now with the TID district in place.
Okay. So we're going to move on to public safety and community well-being. Public safety is a top concern for every resident. And while this question does have to do with law enforcement, I want us to expand our thinking about public safety to include things like healthcare and education and mental health care, as well as addressing poverty. Um, so what strategies do you support to improve relationships between law enforcement and the community and address public safety with this expanded definition to help bring crime rates down?
Um, as far as public safety and getting the people engaged,
Mhm.
even at an early age, younger kids with the the police department, fire department. There are programs out there, and the cops try to engage, in special occasions with the kids, which is a really good starting point. It doesn't make them afraid of, having to, say hi to them, call them. So I think this is, a good start. But getting into, working with, healthcare and
Mhm.
stuff like that, with our two main public safety, um, um, police and fire, um, it's, healthcare, I'm not sure has been addressed. I know on a county level, it's addressed very well,
Mhm.
and has a program. In fact, my wife works for ARDC. She's
Okay.
a volunteer there. So, and that's a very good program. So we already do have some resources that are available.
Mhm.
But maybe it just needs to be, broadcast a little bit better to the public.
Okay. So same topic. There are always discussions about youth engagement programs. So what role,
Pardon me, what programs?
youth engagement,
Okay.
so for young people, what role should the village play in providing opportunities for young people to succeed and stay out of trouble? And one of the things that I'm reminded of is when my kids were growing up, once they hit like 13, there was not a lot of for them to do because they're too old for like day camp programs or like the anything like that, but they're also not old enough to work. So like that in between group really seems to kind of get lost in the shuffle, but they also can cause a lot of trouble when they're bored and they don't have anything to occupy themselves.
Um, I the youth baseball program is one thing that I'm thinking of. It's typically an evening thing though, when parents and stuff are available.
Hmm.
Um, and maybe I don't know if the Parks Department could look at it to, you know, taking another step from day camps like the churches have and the Parks Departments and stuff local, that they could do a daytime baseball. I don't know.
Okay.
Offhand, I really can't think of anything else because I know our children too had, there wasn't much for them to do, so we had a list of chores for them to do it around the house.
Right, right. But once that's over,
Yeah,
like, what do they do
yeah.
then,
Oh, I
right?
know, I know, I know. They get bored pretty quick. So
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna move on now to infrastructure. I don't know why that word just catches me every time. Infrastructure and transportation. What are your priorities when it comes to road repairs and infrastructure improvements in the village in Caledonia?
our infrastructure definitely needs to be maintained. Some of it, in order to, fit more housing and development, needs to be expanded. I am not a fond lover of putting a house or a business on a piece of property that isn't sewer or watered.
Hmm.
Um, it's just, septic systems are not the answer for a real life sewer system. but until we can address, capacities on the sewer system that we have, septic systems are still going to be going in.
Right.
But I believe that houses should typically be built on property with sewer and water.
Okay.
And roads need to be maintained also.
Yeah.
It seems in the past few years, the village has been really proactive with their resurfacing priorities
Hmm.
on roads throughout the village.
Okay. Um, so we're gonna stay with this topic for a moment. There's a push generally in Racine County, but also regionally, like in the southeast corner of the state, for more sustainable transportation options. Do you support expanding public transit and or bike-friendly lanes on roadways and things like that?
Um, Bike friendly lanes, I'm not sure that they're the answer everywhere, because you still have to move traffic, motor vehicle traffic. And if you're going to lose a lane or two to bike traffic, I think I feel that maybe it should be, that bike lane should be transferred to a less traveled road adjacent to a road that is more of a connector route. I've
Okay.
seen it, City of Racine, Main Street. They took out 2 lanes of traffic, one in either direction, to put a bike lane in each, and I think that's a big waste. Bike lanes could have stayed over on Erie Street, which is 2 blocks away, and probably not upset too much.
Okay. What about expanding public transit?
Public transit, I think, I know it keeps coming up from time to time about light rail.
Hmm.
There is right of way for it, along the Union Pacific tracks adjacent to
Hmm.
Douglas Avenue. I think it's a win-win if it to make it go, but for some reason it keeps getting hung up, and I know it's a cost thing, but it's something that should be pursued. Just like some connector roads that should have gone through 20 years ago. Light rail should have gone through 20 years ago too.
What about expanding like more immediate local public transit, which is basically the city bus system in Racine that also does travel into the villages?
Yeah, I see the city buses, even coming out to Caledonia for the most part, they don't get used. People, for some reason, I mean, not to say there aren't people on it, but
Hmm.
the buses are pretty much empty during major parts of the day.
Do you think that's a culture shift though? Because like in other, like let's use like bigger metropolitan areas, right? Like Chicago has a pretty robust public transit system, right? They got planes, trains, not
Mhm.
planes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Train, trains, and I almost said planes, trains, and automobiles, but that's not really what I meant. But they have trains and buses, right? And they're
Yes.
pretty comprehensive. Milwaukee has the Milwaukee County Transit, which you can say what you want. Does it go everywhere you need it to? No, they've had to experience cuts also in recent years, but there is more of a general acceptance that like bus taking the bus is a transportation option, right? Whereas
Yeah.
in the eastern part of Racine County, and the everything's so intertwined, between the villages and the city, is it more of a culture shift, you think, that just needs to kind of take place to get more people on the bus?
I think it's more of it's quicker to take your own vehicle. And people have gotten so used to everyone's got something to drive. Typically, someone has something to drive. Um, the times and schedules of our buses, the ride they call it now. It used to be the
Yeah.
Bel Air system, but you know, it's maybe they don't run often enough, but it's an
Mhm.
expensive mode of transportation, the bus is also. And so it doesn't get the funding. In some of the bigger cities, people don't have, there's such, the cities are so big and they have, mass housing,
Mhm.
that people don't have room for a car, so
Yeah.
they're forced to take a bus or a train.
Okay. So we're going to move on to education and workforce development. How can the village better it is Monday and words are hard. Um, how can the village better collaborate with Racine Unified and local colleges to prepare students for the workforce?
Um, I don't know. There, the programs that that Unified has now for students, for trades and stuff, has been catching on quite well.
Hmm.
Um, there's always those college-bound students that are going to be there,
Hmm.
and I don't think those are going to go away. But there's people stuck in the middle yet too, and
Hmm.
where to put them, and to um, find them a place in life is a challenge. I must say, and sometimes it's um, I don't know if it's uh, cultural or if it's learned behaviors or whatever that trying to get into the workforce is so much different. I don't know. I really.
Okay. But it sounds, I'm going to assume based on what you just said that you would support expanding any type of apprenticeship or vocational training.
Most
Um,
definitely.
okay. How like if there were no barriers to doing that, how do you think that could work?
Well, there's businesses, that are working with these with Unified, local
Hmm.
businesses, on the apprenticeship programs and stuff like that. Because right now, the workforce, as far as skilled trades and stuff like that, in uh, these past years, probably, you know, say 5 to 10 years maybe, has been shrinking.
Hmm.
And the skilled trades definitely need some help beefing things up. But it can go beyond skilled trades. It can go to nursing skills and uh,
Hmm.
stuff like that. Healthcare. Um, it it's just that the kids, the kids have to be encouraged, I believe,
Yeah.
from more than, just the outside from the school or whatever. They need to be, whether it's a whole community trying to, you know, nudge them along to, make life better for themselves. I don't know.
Okay. So this is our last pair of questions. So we're moving into government transparency and community engagement. Um, do you think that the village is as transparent as it could and that Caledonia does a good job with communication between, excuse me, village operations and residents? And I really want you to think about transparency and communication as two different things because transparency is different. Like you can do everything in the light of day and whatever, but are you communicating with your people, right? So take it away.
Okay. As far as transparency, the village has a wonderful website.
Hmm.
You can go there and find anything you want about meetings, the agendas, what was done at the past meetings. And there's even audio on some of it. So I believe the village has that covered.
Hmm.
Um, as far as sometimes, I know personally, calling to have a question, to a village department and stuff like that. A lot of times a couple of times, I should say, not a lot of times, but there have been times where, it was a little bit of phone tag to talk to somebody.
Mhm.
But they're busy too, and the village staff is also limited. They need to get their job done, and they need to, also answer questions. And I don't believe the village is overstaffed with people, that can ask questions, and
Mhm.
nor the people like the receptionist who would answer the phone, and stuff like that. She does the best she can to, steer people to who they have to talk to
Okay.
on different issues,
Mhm.
and also able to answer some questions,
Okay.
uh, that she can't.
All right. So what steps will you, if you're elected, what steps will you take to be sure that diverse voices are heard in your decision-making process, particularly from any underrepresented communities within the village of Caledonia?
Um, at every meeting, the village has a way to, they have their time to, speak. Okay, the board members won't be interactive. Everything is recorded, and it'll be spoken about, and discussed at a later date, or put on an agenda to be discussed.
Mhm.
But as far as having interaction at a meeting, between the public, and the board members sitting there, like the village board, or the plan commission, stuff like that. Um, it would be a throwback to like how the town board meetings used to run, uh, and they were 3 to 4 hours long because there was chatter back and forth about everything, and you can't get business done that way. It's
Yeah.
just not. It's
Yeah,
not. It's not a
I think some
productive way
people,
to
I
do
think
business.
some people are still a little unaware of the rules that kind of govern a village board meeting, right? Like you can have public
Right.
comment, and that's not to say that like, if you're on the board, I'm on the board, whoever else, Tom Weatherston's still president, whoever else is on the board. But if a resident says something during public comment, that's not to say that we can't be like, oh, yep, let us touch base with so and so about your issue, and we'll make sure that that connects. That kind of
Yeah.
interaction is okay and happens all the time. But in terms of like full-blown dialogue, that's not what happens. Those conversations can happen at the committee level.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, as far as, the public being heard, yes, they are heard. And, the committee has to take it from there, the different committees, to discuss the needs of the people. The people can, write to the committees. They can, put their comments down in writing. No problem. They can email village board members and committee members. So,
Mhm.
there's, plenty of ways to communicate with
Yeah. Okay. Um, okay, so that ends our questions. Would you like to take a moment to make your final pitch? Well, it's not your final pitch, right? Because we're still like a week out from, are we a week out?
a week from tomorrow.
We are. My God, time is going fast. I had to look at the calendar on my wall. I was like, oh my goodness. So we're about a week out. So it's not your final pitch, but during this conversation, would you like to make your appeal to why the voter should check your box on the ballot?
Well, I'm open to all comments, from the citizens. I typically, I'm not a huge crusader for, some different um, factions out there.
Mhm.
But anyway, I will listen. And if something really, sounds like a good idea, I will bring it to the rest of the board, or in the committees. Um, the thing is, I know people are always complaining about their taxes being, too high, and, costs going up and up. Well, it, I live in the village and I know the taxes are getting very high.
Mhm.
The, one way to combat that is to, have, some, responsible plan development. We, need to get, um, planned, business areas, along the interstate. We, have a good start, with the industrial parks. Uh, but without tax base of both housing and businesses, the taxes are going to continue to rise. There's no doubt about that. Costs of doing business, maintaining everything, and paying wages keeps growing. So, uh, I am definitely a person who would look for development and encourage development in areas where we, really can make a difference and do something about lowering our tax bills.
Okay, awesome. Mick, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate you taking time out of the day to have this conversation. Normally we would be in the Racine County I offices with actual coffee, hence the name Coffee with Candidates. But I caught a bug last week, and so we moved everything to Zoom. And I mean, I'm fine now, but I just wanted to be sure that everybody had an equal opportunity to speak. And so
Sure.
we just kept it to Zoom to keep it all consistent.
I was
Um,
looking, I was looking forward to donuts.
That would actually, so we could do it as coffee and donuts with candidates. I mean, I'm good
Yeah.
for changing the name. That's fine. But everyone else, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're finding this. We appreciate you joining us. Please remember that early voting is happening right now. So you can go see your city or village clerk, and you can fill out your absentee ballot immediately. Your vote will be counted on election day. If, however, you are like me and you like the thrill of going on election day, then the polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Tuesday, April 1st. You can still register to vote actually on election day. Just make sure you have your photo ID, and I believe it's 2 pieces of mail addressed to you at your current address. So again, thank you everyone for joining us for this series. It is our pleasure to talk to our candidates so that we can help inform you, um, because an informed voter is a better voter in our opinion. So thank you for joining us, Mick. I hope everybody has a great day, and we'll see you soon.